Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Juhli Leman and I'm so glad you're with me again for another step in our journey for self-discovery. Now it is podcast number 7, which is relating with others. So in our last episode, we examined how to reach our authentic selves by needing to first accept our inner child. Because we must realize that to accept our inner neglecting parts is a matter of ongoing learning, and it will eventually transform our experiences and lead us to our goal we set up for ourselves. Today we are examining how we best can relate to others, which involves again understanding our fears and our inability to trust, which is necessary to achieve good connections with others. So it is just another segment that belongs to our path of learning to better understand ourselves. Looking at our abilities to connect with others, we may note that we haven't mastered our emotions and mental states enough to find satisfactory relationships. But by understanding the importance of having good connections for our mental states to be well, we can find the motivation eventually to reach good relationships for ourselves. It will happen when we truly desire to connect, which will be when we understand our barriers. When we have many fears and are still in the habit of hurting ourselves by criticizing ourselves, we cannot relate well. Our sense of self already depends much on how we can connect with others. Generally, it won't give us the wisdom and tools to achieve the connection we like. We are in the habit of relating to others on how our fears are directing us. Although we are always looking for acceptance and being valued, we are reluctant to look for the right people to relate with. We know that support and care can help us so much with our struggles, but we are still reluctant to find the support. It is good to learn more about ourselves now as to what we would usually reveal and what we would hold back. Sharing with others is a very sensitive issue for us, and we usually cannot relate to this. There's one bad habit we all have, and this is to judge others even before we have made acquaintance with the person we are judging. So then the process of connecting with others is mirrored in how we process connecting with ourselves. Anything that holds us back is because of our inability to open up to others. Much depends on how we can handle our emotions. We need to feel safe at first, before we can trust others, also due to the way we feel about ourselves. We project our uncertainty into our relationships because of the lack of awareness. It makes an invisible wall between us and others. It hinders us from inviting others to see our true inner parts, and especially when we show the imperfect parts of ourselves, which we actually should. But we are very afraid to show these parts to others. It is because of our trouble in accepting them. We do need to strengthen our bonds that we are making, as we need more authentic and resilient bonds for ourselves. A warm and open exchange between us and others is the answer to our struggles. We now know that self-trust is essential because it gives us the confidence we need to engage in honest and vulnerable interactions. We should not be excessively guarded in one way or then overly reliant on others in another way to validate our experiences. When communication runs freely, misunderstandings are reduced and an emotional intimacy is nurtured. We can summarize now how we see our barriers to relating well. First, the need to understand our need for human connection. Then, number 2, the role of trust and self-disclosure. And number 3, to recognize our boundaries, sensitivities, and communication styles. Yes, at first we need to grasp that our hesitation to fully engage with others stems from unresolved inner conflicts. Because what we accept and reject about ourselves determines how open we are to forming the connections. We are dominated by self-doubt, criticism, and fear of rejection. This way we are unknowingly closing the door to potential relationships. When we can show a positive self-concept, it then can empower us to share our true selves with others. We must get more authentic and resilient bonds for ourselves, because our inner dialogue acts as a gatekeeper. So we have the option of creating a warm and open exchange or creating barriers that keep others away. We do have a choice in this way, and it is always good to choose wisely, because it is better to rely on trust to get a good connection. Yes, trust can be explained as the foundation of a meaningful relationship. It always begins with trusting ourselves first. It is not solely about placing confidence in someone else. It has to begin by trusting ourselves. One thing about trust is it requires us to take risk when sharing personal experiences in the hope that they will be received with understanding and care by others. So last, we'll point to the importance of boundaries for building meaningful connections. Boundaries act as an invisible line that protects our emotional well-being, because ensuring that we feel safe and respected in our interactions. They allow us to decide what we're comfortable with, sharing with others, and with whom and under what circumstances. Without clear boundaries, we may find ourselves overwhelmed or even taken advantage of. However, boundaries are not meant to be walls that completely shut people out. Rather, they serve as guidelines that help us navigate relationships in a way that fosters both connections and self-protection. But then, when we are overly open with people who do not respect our space or our emotions, we risk exposing ourselves to unnecessary emotional harm. So one of the key aspects of maintaining healthy boundaries are recognizing when they are being overstepped. Sometimes others may unintentionally push too hard for personal information or emotional access without realizing that they make us uncomfortable. But someone may be eager to connect, but does not pay attention to our nonverbal cues, indicating that we are not ready to share. So if someone insists that we disclose personal information before we feel ready, we may experience emotional distress. So then, being aware of our sensitivities and limits allows us to take control of the situation. Assertive communication may sometimes be necessary to help us express our discomfort and clearly and respectfully. Finding the right balance between openness and protection requires more self-awareness and an understanding of our comfort levels. The key is to gradual and intentional sharing, where we allow trust to build over time rather than feeling pressured to reveal too much too soon. So now, to move on again, next there is also a role of communication styles that is important for connection. Every person has a unique communication style, influenced by their personality, upbringing, and past experiences. People may differ in their ways how they express themselves. Some may be more naturally expressive, while others are just more reserved. So, understanding this diversity in communication styles is crucial to forming lasting and meaningful relationships. As a closing thought, we learned that we need to be more open to others and to feel well connected. Yes, to be well connected is our ideal state to be in, to reach our desired well-being. How nice for us to be able to just call someone at any time when we need comfort and help. Looking ahead, our next episode, podcast number 8, will be the summary about everything we have taught and learned. After reviewing, we may ask, what stood out for ourselves? What may still be difficult for us to grasp? And where do we need more answers? And how can we get them? It is always good to practice what we have learned. It will be then something that will stay with us and help with our patterns to improve ourselves. Of course, it will still be a continuing learning experience because it will be part of our new lifestyle, which should be getting better and better. As this is getting to our last episode, we point out again how important it is to value ourselves. This will be a constant exercise for us to practice and keep on learning. And thank you very much.